This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, an open source non-ICO crypto project powered by community. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. That's TUSC.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Today, I'm talking to Darryll DiPietro. He is the founder and CEO of Coincierge.Club. How are you today, Darryll?
Doing well, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm glad we finally got to connect here because we've been hanging out for a while now, and it's glad that, I'm glad you've taken the time because I've been trying to get you on this show for a while now. So before we jump into some of the hot topics of the day, and trust me, I think we got a lot of fun stuff to cover today. For the people who are not familiar with you, which I can't believe there's anybody that's not familiar with you, who are you and what are you doing?
I am Darryll DiPietro. I am the founder and CEO of Coincierge.Club, and we built a mobile private key wallet with 30,000 different digital assets on it and a point of sale which allows users to use those assets. Very simple to use, and we're just here to try to help the crypto industry and kind of bring a bunch of different projects together along the way.
Wow. Sounds like you got that down. I guess you've been practicing your elevator pitch. So how did you get so good at your elevator pitch?
I've pitched it at least 200, 250 times already. I've pitched from, just anybody that wants to hear me talk to some of the biggest VCs in the Valley, and they get the same pitch every single time.
So the Valley. So I know that you've been doing a lot of entrepreneurial education kind of stuff. Tell me a little bit about kind of the stuff you've been working on to help grow what you've been doing.
Yeah. So, about 2 years ago, we started our journey in Silicon Valley. It started off with a Google event called Startup Grind. They have it in Redwood City. And that's when we started meeting VCs and finding out that there is a way to get funding if you fit in a certain mold that these venture capitalists are looking for. They want to see revenue, they want to see growth, they want to see percentages, and they want statistics. They don't care about hype. They don't care who's backing your project. They only care about the actual fundamentals of the project, numbers, employees, growth, things like that. So we started this journey. We, ended up going to Martha's Vineyard, did some stuff out there with some other VCs, but brought back to the Valley for launch 2018. And that's when we really started to focus on how to build this brand in the way that a venture capitalist wants to see it. We've done a bunch of deal clubs. We did a deal club in New York, became partners with Rob Charles and Goldfinger, which is a cryptocurrency-backed deal club on Wall Street. We did about 6-7 months in New York at the beginning of 2019. And then we came back around to San Francisco through an event at the end of June out there. It was moderately successful, but it allowed us to establish a brand up there. And then we got into a VC accelerator program in Santa Clara. And that was 8 weeks of nonstop work. We produced over 80 documents during that time. Things like we just talked about, the elevator pitch were honed. Our pitch deck was honed. Our business plan was honed. All these things that we maybe had, but no one professional had ever sat down and said, hey, you know what? This is okay, but it could be great. Or this is not okay, but it needs to be great. And so we went through and we developed all these items. We developed, fleshed out our business plan, fleshed out our 5-year, goals, 3-year goals, HR plans, fundraising goals, where we're going. And then at the end, they helped us build the perfect pitch deck, which we've been able to go out and pitch to a few different VCs in multiple locations, including Silicon Valley. We also pitched to an accelerator out here in Nevada. And so that's really where we're at. We're trying to be that actual crypto company that follows legitimate rules. We're trying to follow the way that you would build any other type of tech company. Whereas if you had a social media platform that has nothing to do with crypto, if you had the next Airbnb, the next Uber, these guys all went through the exact same programs, the exact same training, and got the exact same feedback and built the same pitch decks just relevant to their own projects. And that's what we're lacking in the crypto space right now is, in the beginning or right around the time that I got into it, it seemed as if it was anybody with a white paper could raise 5, 10, 20, $40 million. And most of those projects have gone to the wayside. There was a lack of knowledge in the industry. So as we watched this happen, we said, you know what? We've always wanted to be on the ethical side of everything that we do. So we're going to follow traditional VC funding. A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people think that we're dealing with the enemy and, the people that have the money shouldn't have access to the crypto. But in the end, these are the guys that are funding unicorn companies. And I think that that's everyone's goal in this space is to have, a highly profitable business. And we know that that's the way we need to go. So we're doing a lot of stuff up there.
So why didn't you do an ICO then? Why didn't you try to fundraise just by selling off your own coins?
Well, it's interesting. We actually did a small raise, less than $10,000, less than what the SEC would have any concern about. And it wasn't about getting rich like a lot of these projects did, where they just raised a bunch of money and didn't know what to do with it. We had a set of goals. We needed to build a server. We needed to build out our mobile applications, and we needed development funds. And so we did. We raised enough money to build the server, to get a static IP, and to be able to actually host this application. And we hired my friend Michael Hugh, who is a subcontractor for the US DoD, to come in and build out these two nearly bulletproof applications. And that's what we needed the funding for. But we never asked for anything more. We never tried to raise money that, would just go into our pockets or pay for Lambos or, these expensive parties or some of these crazy things that we saw in late 2017, early 2018.
No, so you don't have a Lambo is what you're telling me. I'm kind of bummed. I'm bummed by that.
I have an Acura. Everybody's seen it. It's $200 a month.
So what exactly specifically what problem is your project? What are you trying to solve? What are you trying to do with your project?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because if you had asked me that about a year ago, I would have given you a different answer. And the reason for that is the industry has evolved. So currently, right now, we're trying to help liquidate coins that have no value. But the overall idea, and what I would have answered a year ago, is we're trying to bring everybody to one wallet. We're trying to get everybody with all these multiple different chains and multiple different coins and different wallets with their own private keys, or not only their own private keys. And we're trying to get everybody to move towards a mobile private key wallet where users hold their keys and they have a vendor network where they can spend this crypto. Because if you're not spending crypto, then what the heck is the point? Most of these coins, the value has been lost. Most of these projects have dissolved, and people hold this value in these one-off wallets. Why can't you spend that at the gas station? Why can't you spend that at the grocery store? So we looked at that problem, but the issue that we've ran into instantly was, like I said, there is no value on some of these coins, and people aren't willing to take that hit. So we looked at kind of modifying it into a coupon S style liquidation of these altcoin values, where users get tangible value in tourism. And it seems to be working well. We've thrown a bunch of events where people have come in and spent different altcoins on different things. You've been to a few of them, or at least one of them. And so, we're trying to evolve with the industry as the industry evolves. But the underlying technology has really not changed in 2 years. It's a mobile private key wallet, a point of sale. Users hold their own keys. There's no information that gets sent to the devices. It's built by a US DoD subcontractor. So the security is number one. But again, it's difficult to stay relevant in this industry. So you constantly have to look for new ways to reinvent your product to stay relevant.
So you're saying that you are basically taking existing tokens from dead projects and then recycling them into something that has value?
That's right.
How?
By knowing how the hospitality industry works and attacking the soft cost associated with that. So, for example, out here in Las Vegas, we get complimentary bottle service. That bottle service does not cost us anything. The venue comps it out. Why can't we tip in cryptocurrency? Why can't we tip the door guy that lets our people in cryptocurrency? Why can't we pay for that complimentary beer that we get at the bar in cryptocurrency? And so a light bulb went off, and it said, wait a minute, there's this whole industry of really, it's a cash driven industry right now that is undocumented. There is no, record of you throwing the door guy $100 or the door guy $20 or the cocktail server $50. Why can't they accept crypto?
Well, I think they can. I guess I understand.
No, because the venues won't allow it. And gaming won't allow it. And so that's when we come in and we circumvent the gaming laws that prevent them from doing so, and allow these businesses to accept these coins.
Right. And I understand. I'm gonna play hardball with you, because I'm trying. I don't understand it. Like, I understand if you create your own brand, your own coin that works on your own platform, and you integrate that make those economics, I can understand. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the economics of taking other people's dead projects that may not be traded, that may not have value, how you using them in some way creates value with them where they're already considered dead or not really being used. That's the part I just don't understand.
Yep.
Why do you want to take these other coins that are out there or tokens that are dead? Why not just work with your own token?
Oh, I've got the perfect answer for you. So
Good.
name a coin that is on CMC that has a dead project, like a Verge or something like that.
Verge actually has got a pretty robust community, so I wouldn't say Verge.
I'm just naming names. Name a coin on there that,
Salt.
Great. Salt's
Pack
awesome.
coin, Salt, Pack coin.
Perfect. Either one. It doesn't matter. We'll take Salt because it's just the first one you said. So Salt is on CMC, and you can see what their market cap is, and you can see what one coin is trading at. Not having that knowledge in front of me, I'm assuming you're maybe Googling that right now. But let's just say one Salt coin goes for $5 a coin. Okay?
6 cents.
Okay, even better. Okay, so 6 cents a coin. So in order to have $6, that's 100 coins of Salt coin, correct?
Correct.
So if you take 100 coins and you go to one of our vendors and you buy a $6 beer, you now got $6 worth of that coin. You weren't able to sell it on an exchange because there really isn't anybody banging at the door to get Salt right now. The vendor who did not pay for that beer gives you that beer and also gets $6 worth of Salt, which may or may not be worth something down the road. So the arbitrage value here is actually reestablishing a value for these dead tokens connected to physical, tangible assets that users can hold.
So you'd say, are you taking their coins and then converting them to your own token, and then on your platform you're basically doing the trading with your own coin or token?
Nope, we don't do any trading for we literally have a hands-off approach to this. So the vendors that we work with hold these coins. We can show them how to liquidate them through the Waves DEX or through other means, but we do not liquidate to fiat. We don't exchange to Coincierge. This is simply, they would normally not be getting anything for this comp value. Now they're getting something that could potentially be worth a lot more.
So I download your wallet.
Yep.
And I go in there, and do I just have to then buy through your wallet? I have to buy whatever these tokens that I want, or do I just buy?
Most of the time, users already have the tokens on other platforms, and they just migrate them over. Remember, we have 30,000 digital assets on that platform. So except for a lot of the ERC20 and ERC720 tokens, we can onboard those coins. And if there is a coin that isn't onboarded to our platform, Tusk, we can make that happen in about 15 minutes. So it's not a hard process. And it doesn't mean that it's not like we're sitting here being like, oh, you have to buy $20, $100, $200 of our coin to use our platform. You literally don't. You literally have to have at least one Coincierge.Club coin trading at about 2 cents right now in order to do the transaction.
It's interesting. I need to wrap my head about it, to be honest.
That's okay. So understand, we make money off the transactions. That's how we make our money. We're very clear about that. We have a premium SaaS model for our vendors, which they pay us also monthly. So for the user, it's exceptionally cheap. And it's the traditional type of transaction you're used to sending in crypto, where you pay a user-generated fee.
So basically at this point, then you didn't do an ICO, but you did do a small raise. Where are you on the funding of it right now?
We've raised $72,000 traditionally through convertible note and equity swaps. We started off doing equity, then we incorporated in March of 18, switched to a convertible note offering. We're doing a late seed round raise right now, which I don't think the SEC would like me to say what the amount is or how that is, but if you're interested in finding out, privately reach out to us. We can have those conversations. We try to make sure that we follow the law. It's kind of interesting that this space was bred out of the opposite of that, but we try to make sure we follow the law.
I think that a lot of people got into crypto not because they necessarily wanted to get around the law. I think that, there's some people that are just straight up criminals, but I think a lot of people got into this space because they didn't like the existing power brokers that are being very centralized. And I think there's a nuance there, right? Like, I don't want to break the law. And before we even launched with our own token 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time talking to attorneys. I personally talked to the SEC attorneys about securities offerings and understanding that I didn't want to launch an illegal security. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, not that I really care that much about laws and government. Everybody who knows me knows I'm pretty I can be pretty political at times, but the thing is, to me, if you're launching a project, you know, in the startup, and you understand this because you've been going through this accelerator stuff, this whole, you know, regulatory risk is what it's called, right? To me, if you're a startup founder and you're not out there hardcore trying to understand what risks your startup faces and then having plans to mitigate those risks, and regulatory risk is a huge piece of that, then as a founder, you're a moron. And you're probably going to lose people's money if you don't care about regulatory risk. Now, you can say you hate the government all you want. That doesn't mean that they're still not relevant to what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Yep, exactly. You have to make sure you stay on the correct side of the law. And it's difficult because, like you said, a lot of these people, I know you have a token that is for the coin that's for the Second Amendment. And a lot of people will look at that and say, oh, he must be anti-government. No, I mean, the Second Amendment is part of the government. It actually is one of the founding principles of what makes our government work. And so you have to look at stuff like that. You can't just be this rogue person out there in the space trying to, change. I know disruption is something that they connect with the decentralization and the blockchain, but the fintech side of it is highly regulated. And if you want to play in this game, I mean, you're playing with the people that have all the money in the world. For example, I'm sure you saw that we signed with Wilson Sonsini. That's one of the biggest law firms in Silicon Valley. They handle everything from a pre-seed to an IPO. So for our next round of raising, we're in the process of onboarding. We're going to be moving our cap table over to Carta. We're going to be doing the things that the Drapers do. We're going to be doing the things that Eric Voorhees does. We're going to be doing the things that the VCs that are in our space are looking for, so that we can scale this thing the correct way.
So what is the correct way? What is your kind of long-term goal for your project?
We thought we were ready for a Series A. After going through this accelerator, we realized we weren't quite there yet. We need to find our product market fit. That's our next goal. So we have about 600 or so wallets on the system. We saw a 14% uptick last month, and we're doing about 1,000 transactions a month on the coin. So we just need to do a lot of A/B testing. It's probably going to take us maybe about another 6 months of A/B testing for product market fit to find out how to get this thing to scale. And so that's why we're doing a smaller raise with that. And then we're going to go after a traditional Series A raise. We see this thing growing and scaling through a Series C. We've talked to a few different firms that have given us, verbal commitments on Series B. So we know what we need to do to get to that point. We have specific metric intervals that we need to hit. But there's really realistically, the sky is the limit, because there's not a lot of people that are building multiple chain wallets right now. And there's a few, and we've outlined those as competition in our business plan. But realistically, people are still trying to figure out how to launch coins on their own wallets. And the ones that are out there that hold multiple chains hold the user's private keys.
And you're doing it without holding their private keys?
Correct. Not only do we not see your private key, we can't even reset your password.
Well, do the other ones reset your password?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you look at the competition, without trying to throw shade on anybody that's out there.
Throw shade.
Well, Coinbase, for example. Coinbase has how many coins on there? That 6 or 7? I haven't been on Coinbase in a minute, but I know they have the GDEX as well. And they've got a lot of different tokens on there, but they hold your keys. If there was a DDoS attack on that platform, that's gone. And people think that's a wallet. And people have confidence in it. And they say, oh, I have FDIC insurance. No, you don't. You have FDIC insurance on your US dollars, not on your Bitcoin that's in there. A lot of the exchanges that are out there that people are using, like a Kraken, although we do like those guys. We met those guys up in Wyoming. They hold your private keys. These wallets or exchanges hold your private keys. And anytime a hacker wants to go in there and walk around, they can. And they can take that money out of your account. And there's literally nothing you can do about that.
You got me kind of stressed out, to be honest.
Why is that?
Because
you got money on exchanges, don't you?
No, I actually don't. You would not believe, I'm not the one in charge of that, though. So the wife is she's the capo when it comes down to cracking the whip on the detail stuff like that. I'm not allowed to touch the money, so.
Smart.
But she's much smarter than I am, so it's okay. I don't even know where the private key. Well, actually, I know where all the private keys are, but we have a workflow for our own personal finances, and we're very I guess you would say we have a lot of redundancy plans for,
It's good.
you know,
It's really good.
well, look how many people are dying out there, and then they don't, their spouses don't even know where their keys are, and they lose millions of dollars. I mean, it's
Yep.
ridiculous. I actually think that's a problem with crypto that needs to be addressed. Not
So
only
what
just,
about like third-party custody? I mean, I was looking into doing something with because I have children and trying to leave some sort of like, will or some sort of crypto trust fund, if you will. And the only thing I could really come up with is load the private key on a USB drive, put the USB drive into a security box at a bank, and then assign a custodial that has access to that. And that's not the answer.
I actually think it absolutely could be an answer. In fact, there's private safe deposit vaults that are out there that are
That's a
popping up,
good
like
idea.
Safe Haven Vaults it's a new franchise that's
You got them
starting.
all over Vegas. I didn't even think about that till you said it.
Yeah, and so like for Safe Haven, for instance, there's no AML KYC because they're not a bank, and they have full biometrics. They don't know who you are, and unlike a bank who does know who you are, so there's a lot of privacy that's being retained. And then what happens is you have you have like a next of line, basically data card that you put on top of your box inside their box, so that if they ever have to drill your box out, your box is still locked, but now they have the person to call to say, hey, your
Interesting.
contents are here. So they got a good solution for that, and I think that's an excellent, something to look at out there for that, besides just normal personal handling. I don't have an issue if you want to, put information on a jump drive and that's encrypted, and then someone else has the key for that, but you need to have backups. And I think that you see a lot out there that, the husband is the one who does all the finances, and there's no instructions on how to deal with it, and he dies, and the wife's, the widow is left in the dust. And that's a problem, but we have a problem with that now, even with bank accounts and things like that. That's why there's tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars in lost funds that different states hold, right? Because that exact problem, they forgot about bank accounts and things like that. But I think that going forward is something that's going to have to be fixed, because I think right now the public isn't ready for crypto because of its unforgiving nature.
Yeah, it's very finite when it comes to those keys. I mean, if you do not have them, on the platforms that like we're building and what other our competitors are building, it's very finite when it comes to that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've even have, we're an open project that we have lots of volunteer devs, and we've had developers lose their keys. And you're like, you're the developer, and you misplace your keys.
Yeah.
And we had one of the early developers that was working with us when we were still an ERC20 token. He put his private keys on a text file on his hard drive, and his hard drive failed, and he couldn't recover it and lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there was nothing we could do. There was just nothing we could do about it. And I felt bad, and it led to him leaving the project because he didn't have any skin in the game at that point, which just kind of sucks. And to me, it's
completely, he could not recover from that hard drive. They totally fried out the hard drive.
Dude, I don't understand. It was a platter failure or something.
Because
I
I've
don't know
done that before. I fried a hard drive on a MacBook, and I hired a nerd to come in, and he was able to recover everything.
Yeah, and I understand that. He said he did everything he could, and he couldn't do it. So I don't understand that, but I know that his tokens didn't make the swap. So he was not able to recover them before we became a coin and did our swap. Because at this point, it doesn't matter anymore, because we're not a token anymore. So we have our own coin, our own
Wouldn't
chain.
you be able to just create those tokens for him, and then, or I guess because you guys never recovered the coins that were on his hard drive, you couldn't issue the other coins?
What we ended up doing is there was some coins that we knew that were lost that were recovered, and they were put back into the worker proposal fund for Tusk. So the ones that we could verify that did not make the swap, because when we swapped, we had to create a supply of Tusk to accommodate the supply of OCC. So
I get it. Because we're doing something similar with ERC20 and Coincierge.
Yeah, so we had to create enough when we did the Genesis block for our blockchain, we had to create 50 billion coins to match the 100 billion OCC, because we swapped it a 2-to-1 ratio, because we shrunk our supply a little bit, by half, so and then when we created the blockchain, we had to initially essentially pre-mine those 50 billion.
So what happened to my question? Because you just made me think of what happened to my OCC coins that were on, what's that game you walk around, the Pokemon
Air coins?
Yeah. Are they now Tusk? I haven't even looked.
Yep, they are Tusk. So we worked with cool. We worked with Aircoins on that. So how it worked with Aircoins was the same way. Because of our swap was a manual process. We created a DApp where you had to manually move your OCC tokens. You had to create a Tusk account.
Yeah.
Then you had to manually on your own dime move your OCC tokens to an Omega address, and then basically attach your account name, and then your account and then you had to download your own keys. And then when we launched, essentially your account was created and credited with the correct number of OCC, and it worked. It worked.
You guys did that on the background, or did you automate that process? Or
no, it was completely manual process. We made a DApp that you had to. It was a website essentially.
We're doing the same thing. That's why I'm asking, because we've got.
We'll talk. I'll tell you everything we did offline. And
okay, cool.
Essentially, yes, we did create a system that worked and worked very well, and it was a very slick system actually, because we researched.
But this is for a one-time swap, right? This isn't for interoperability, or there's no OCC market.
I don't know if it would be the best way to do it ongoing, because I'm not a developer, but I know that we spent a lot of time, and the dev team spent a lot of time looking at all the major ICOs that did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them did a really bad job. Some ICOs, even some big ones, literally had your own private key.
I know.
And it was ridiculous.
EOS will never work. And that's why Ethereum will never work, because there's half of the EO or part of the EOS network stuck on Ethereum still. And people don't understand that.
Yeah. So we actually made it so you had to log in with MetaMask.
Okay.
So you controlled your wallet. We didn't control any of it. And there's a little trick. I'm not going to tell you what they did, but our guys figured it out, and they figured out a brilliant. Our swap went almost flawlessly.
And you guys just launched like 2 days ago, right? Or no, not yesterday, like a couple days ago, right?
So we did the swap ended in October. So we did the swap in October, and then we just brought the GUI wallet and the GUI block explorer online, and brought our block producers in this last week.
That's awesome.
So we went through that whole process this week. So we are now a live real boy, and our first exchange listing will happen within the next couple of days. They're working, Altili's working on, thank you. Altili's working on the integration as we speak. So it's been an interesting process, but I'll tell you, we'll talk a little bit later about, how we did the swap, but we spent a lot of time trying to figure that out in a way that was secure, that we didn't control keys. And that was a big thing that I said, I don't want to be responsible for their keys. But I'll tell you this. So even now, people that went and swapped their OCC for Tusk have already lost their Tusk keys. It's unforgiving, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like literally, when we did the swap, we went through and we created a whole lot of videos and instructions and say, copy this, do not lose this, blah, blah, blah. You will lose all your access to your coins. And we've had several people already come into the group and say they lost their keys. Well,
how many times have you downloaded somebody else's wallet at like a conference? They're like, oh, download our wallet. And you're like, okay. And they want you to back up their keys, but you're only getting like $5 worth of Bitcoin from them for downloading the wallet. So you're like, all right, I'm not going to use this wallet again. I mean, I can only assume that happens to some people sometimes, where they're just so excited or in just such a rush to get through the process of setting up the wallet that they don't factor in, I'll never forget this password. It's my password that I use for everything. Or it's, in a significant thing for me. And then a week later, you're like, what's that password?
Yeah, it's bad. And I think this is going to be an impediment to adoption, but I think it's something that can be fixed. I think it's something that can be created or corrected and dealt with. But at this point, it's scary when even the people that are like the developers in this space are having the same problem, right? Yep. Can you imagine grandma who has a little bit of dementia, has, $1 million in crypto, which is equivalent to her life savings. And then she, deletes off her one letter from her private key hash, and now she can't access it ever. Yep. I mean, if anybody who thinks that system's going to work for mass adoption is insane. right? It's just not going to work. Something has to be done. There needs to be a recoverability things. And with our project, and maybe with yours as well, we're already looking long term how we're going to have to correct that and deal with that issue, because I know it's an issue, and technologically we need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're working on some ideas. I'm not going to say, because I'm not going to tell you what our secret sauce is yet, but we got some ideas that we're going to be working on. It just takes time.
Stay posted to that, because it's interesting to see what you guys come up with. I know you guys have a pretty solid team, and what you guys have been able to produce so far has been pretty impressive. So, well,
thank you. So the latest news, we were talking about this the other day, the crypto media purge. Have you been? You know, it's interesting.
So Christmas came early for me. You know, we've seen a lot of people posting online recently that there's been a crypto purge, especially on YouTube, over the past couple of days. And, you know, I think that we share the same sentiment where it's, you know, a lot of these guys were pushing projects that were shady, you know, Ponzi's, multi-level marketing, affiliate links, or blatantly taking endorsement money from projects that shouldn't have been endorsed. And seeing this purge, I know it hurts people. I know it's the wrong time of the year. I know we should, you know, want everybody to succeed. But some of these guys, they have zero technical skill, zero technical ability. And they're making money off of projects that myself and yourself and other people in our positions have worked hard. And sometimes they're making more money off of promoting the projects than we're making off of the projects. And I saw somebody post something about like, oh, this is somebody's like, oh, this is freedom of speech. And then someone came back to him, which I retweeted a very similar thing, which was like, that's not freedom of speech. It's a third party company. You don't have the right to freedom of speech on YouTube. And then the guy was like, I beg to differ. And then the guy was like, oh, why don't you build your own? If you have a problem with censorship on social media platforms, build your own. And I was thinking to myself, because this guy has no technical skills, because he has zero technical ability. And, you know, if you do have technical ability and you're an influencer like my friend Kingsley and Aaron have built Float, and I know you just followed me on Float, not to give like some random shout out, but here's the thing.
But just give a shout out.
Float is a platform for you. Float is a platform that's not going to censor you. Float has also been VC backed by Draper, not Draper University, Boost VC, which is Adam Draper's, you know, VC fund. And they built something. They've come out and said, we're not just content people. We're not just names in the space that talk about crypto. We're going to build a platform. And I believe they have over 1,000 users on there right now. And I can only imagine that they saw a huge uptick over the last couple of days. But if your sole basis of your channel is to interview people, to make money off of that, off of paid content or sponsorships, and you've got some, you know, robot logo for your, you know, newest wallet promotion, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to, you know, just hold your Bitcoin and go to the conferences and be that person, but you don't need to keep profiting largely off of our hard work.
Well, I think the two problems that I see here, and having been a project in this space for 2 years now, I've run into this a few times, right? And you have too, I'm going to bet. One, the guys that are being purged right now are not just any old, I'm a nice, honest to goodness journalist in crypto world YouTuber. These are guys that are pitching scams. These are guys that have been pitching BitConnect. These are guys that have been pitching literally full-blown Ponzi's and not really adding a lot of value. By the way, it's funny. I don't even know a lot of these people. It's kind of funny. They're not even as big as they were before. Like now it's like a lot of the crypto guys, these people aren't even that great anymore. But these guys literally were pitching criminal fraudsters and unrepentantly when these, you know, fraudsters are out there. So I think one, this isn't some wholesale, you know, attack by YouTube against all crypto. Well, that's nonsense. And I know lots of people that try to do good content out there that aren't blatant.
I was going to ask you, did your YouTube channel get purged? Ours either.
Not a single problem.
Not even a notification.
Not even a notification. I haven't had any problems with my crypto, or I'm sorry, my crypto related content. In fact, I uploaded a video today, and it's already, ranking in Google, and it's got crypto in it. So, so it's not just all crypto that somehow it's the scammers, or at least the scam enablers. And and honestly, no fucks are given. I don't really care that these guys that are making money off costing people their life savings on the shit they were recommending, they are part of the problem. And if people are getting all defensive, like, oh, poor crypto me, dude, then you're part of the problem too, if you think that those kind of guys getting pulled out of the ecosystem is a bad thing.
It's like this, man. If you're a sports reporter, are you really part of the sports team? No. And we need to get more there needs to be more work and more effort done on the projects to kind of regulate this thing. Like, we can't sit here and say, oh, we're going to let, we'll let this guy post about this, we'll let this guy post about that. We got to start calling these projects out. And I know that I have a whatever with Nathan Hawk, man, but I'm going to say this right now on this podcast. He posted something brilliant. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but it literally was what we just said. It was no fucks given, sorry but not sorry. Like, all these guys that all they do is go out there and talk about other people's projects, and it's not about the code, it's not about the security, it's about how much money you're making, and shout out to this sponsor and shout out to that sponsor. And he ripped them. And I don't remember verbatim what it was, but I remember reading it and being like, yep, I agree. I didn't like it because, me and him we had a bit of a falling out, but respect to that post. I just had to say it. It was spot on, and it was the overall sentiment. I kind of cooled off over those 2 days of Christmas because I was doing the Christmas thing, but today I hit it hard, and I was like, you know what? It's time for these guys that are crying about their YouTube channels getting censored, or crying about their social media getting censored, that have zero technical skills, that are literally out there just going to the conferences to party and just going around and doing all these crazy videos about nothing, to be purged. It doesn't help guys like you. It doesn't help guys like me. We've had influencers in our circle for a little while. We had some of the bigger names wearing our stuff. It doesn't help our brand. It actually hurts your brand when somebody's wearing a t-shirt and then they're running around Vegas eating mushrooms on video. It's not good for your company. And so these are the guys that need to see the purge. I don't know if are you pulling up that tweet?
No, I'm not. I'm just listening because I couldn't agree more, to be honest.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I'm going to pull up that tweet because I think it's worth being mentioned. What are your thoughts on all that?
My thoughts are that there are still a lot of quote unquote influencers in the space that are in violation of U.S. law and are taking commissions to promote people, and they're not disclosing it.
Yep.
And they're recommending things. And I think personally, that's unethical. And the federal government established this years ago. Not that I care about the feds, I'm not a bootlicker, but the fact is, not only is it unethical, but because you're misleading or potentially misleading your audience by your own moral hazard and conflict of influence, or conflict of interest with some of these recommendations. You're not telling people you're being paid. And to me, I have an issue with that. And because you're not necessarily, you're going to be biased. You're not evaluating them based on what you really feel. You're evaluating them and promoting them based on how much they're paying you, and you're not telling your audience this. And to me, it's disingenuous. And there's still people around that are still active influencers that still go to World CryptoCon and everything else, and they're not telling people they're getting paid. And, and I've run into these, and I got my own, I'm not going to sit there and badmouth people necessarily because, I don't necessarily have a dog in that fight. But there's still a bunch of them out there. And until the crypto world comes to terms that this is bad for the industry and this is bad for mass adoption, I think it's still going to hurt us as an industry.
That's what I liked about Elevate. There wasn't any influencers there. There weren't any, media booths. There was like, two, maybe one. I think there was one that was for the event, and then one that was like a crypto PR or something like that. But realistically, there were some pretty solid projects. There were some pretty solid names. Blockwatch, I've seen at 4 different conferences in the last 2 months. And that's what I like. But I'm gonna read this tweet because it deserves to be read. 15 hours ago, he goes, I don't consume media related to CC, so cryptocurrency or blockchain. Many of you know that I see influencers as an unnecessary byproduct of the lack of advertising platforms. I couldn't be happier about the YouTube Purge. Your accumulated viewership is less than many make-up in video applications or in make-up application vids. I couldn't agree more. And I know that there's hundreds of people that have projects that have literally sat there and go, you want what for us for a shout out? You want us to pay you how much? And that's, like I said, part of the major problem in this space is that for us, we took a, how do I say this? We've taken a very interesting approach to sponsorships, and it's helped and hurt us along the way. And we haven't gotten as much traction as we could have because we didn't do one thing that these guys all want us to do, and that's pay in US dollars. They all want US dollars. They're crypto influencers who want to get paid in something that they can liquidate to US dollars or get paid directly in US dollars. And we don't do that. We only pay in our coin from the reserve of the profits that we've made off of transactions. And if you don't want to do that, then that's fine. We just don't work with you. But, you know, World CryptoCon did. We paid him $50K to speak at their event. Brock Pierce and Justin Wu and Jeremy Gardner did. And that's how we were able to secure our speaking spot at the NASDAQ. I think it was like $25,000 or $30,000 that we paid them. But we paid him in Coincierge.Club coin. And what does that do? That gets our small little brand exposure on a major stage. It gets our circulation of our coins into the hands of people that are influential. And it gives them a little bit of a knowledge about a product that they might not have had any interest in, but now they're token holders. And I can say the spillover from that is I've become, you know, closer or friends, acquaintances, or however you want to put it, with Justin. We've seen each other at multiple events. We've hung out at multiple events. He's done a panel for us pro bono. And it's because he sees the hard work and he has a connection to the project. And if more people that want to take sponsorship money or want to take, you know, payment for services started working with projects for their own native currency, and that would actually help the industry. But it's when you say, no, it has to be, can I liquidate that? Wait, you're a conference. I remember one conference was like, oh, I can't liquidate it. We don't have room for you. But you were a last minute call for sponsors, meaning you already secured your location. You've already paid your people. You've read payroll. I mean, everything's been paid for. It's a week before the conference. Why do you need more money from us that's liquid? And that's the problem that I have. And that's one of the things we stood by.
Well, that's one of the same things with exchanges too. And the more established, you know, more legit exchanges don't even have a listing fee because they're picky about who they have coming on their platform. And they only allow projects on their platform that they believe they'll be able to have enough of a community to actually make money on the transactions, on their trading, on their platform. Most exchanges out there have listing fees, and they don't even take listing fees in your own native token usually either. And those exchanges are also the ones that tend to be the ones that are faking their volume. Mm-hmm. And it's because their actual marketing, or their actual revenue model isn't transaction fees on their trading because their trading volume's fake. It's the listing fees from the actual projects. And since they themselves don't even give a crap about your project or have any faith in it, they only want, you know, Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum. Yep. And so that's kind of the problem you have with, you know, being a project as well. And you know this as well as I do, is that you're having to deal with this. Is like, okay, how do I establish a market value and how do I get a more legitimate exchange to look at me and take us seriously? And I think that's a tough one. And, you know, I think you guys are figuring it out. And I think we have a good plan to figure that out as well. But a lot of people out there don't know that that's what's happening, right? They think, oh, this exchange has this big number. It's tracked by CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So they must be a legit exchange. And this coin's on their exchange and has all this volume. So it must be a legit project. And unfortunately, a lot of that's all bad. It's all nonsense. It's all fraud. Yep. And so the end users, the investors out there, or the people that are interested in the project, they don't know how to make good decisions because they don't have good information. And then you have all these pimps. I call them pimps, right? You got these crypto pimps out there going out and pushing these projects. And it's all fraud. The whole chain is fraud. It's like...
And that's why I give a hat off to you know, Google or YouTube, however you want to look at the hierarchy. You know, I don't know if you know this, or maybe you do, but I used to take phone calls for the Google Play Store. And I worked on Google operations for the Play Store, third-party applications, and all of the verticals. And so people will call in from all over the place. people would call in from different countries. They would call in, and I think what we're seeing right now is people are realizing that, yes, YouTube and Google are US-based companies, but these companies follow the law of multiple nations. That's a multinational company. And so you have to really kind of realize you're dealing on a bigger scale than what we know here in the United States, which is, quote unquote, I'm going to use quotes because it's the land of the free. But as we find out more information, how free are we really? And that's a whole other conversation. But, people need to realize that you're playing ball with something that isn't in your backyard. Or it's like you're playing chess with somebody via, mail. Whereas you're dealing with other rules, other regulations, other cultures, and your videos are viewable in those countries, and they have to be able to follow those guidelines. One of the biggest things to think of is where are all the Samsung phones made? They're all made in China, man. Google puts their software in Samsung phones. So if they want to make sure that the manufacturing stays low and on the Pixels and all the other devices on the Android system, of course they're going to follow laws that are more relevant to that. If we opened up the largest Android manufacturing plant in the world in the United States, then we might see a trend, might see a difference. But yeah, it's interesting, man. These guys are pissed, and I'm just sitting back here with my popcorn, like, okay, all right, maybe you should learn the skill.
Yeah. And if it was a complete ban on the word crypto and blockchain, yeah, I can understand it. I mean, and this, like, what the focus of our Project Tusk is, the lawful firearms industry is kind of, our main market that we're working in. And they're not allowed to advertise on Twitter, Facebook, or Google already. They've been completely deplatforming and demonetizing the gun industry for over the last year and a half, 2 years now.
Yep.
And these companies don't even have the ability to market other than social media.
The word NRA is like a dirty word in the United States, and it's
absolutely, yeah, especially in Silicon Valley. And it's interesting. Instagram just announced in the last week and a half that they're going to ban gun influencers off Instagram. And what's happening there is that because the gun industry didn't have any, they really are locked out of like pay-per-click and things like that. They're just not allowed to market that way. What they were doing is they were paying social media influencers to then promote their projects. And now Instagram is going to cut that off. So yeah, the crypto people are like getting all pissy, but the fact is there's other industries, not only just conservatives, but the gun industry and some of these other industries, the cannabis industry, they've been completely locked out of these, different
just
platforms
to be clear,
for a long time.
When they did the Facebook blanket ban, it wasn't actually a blanket ban. We are approved. We have been approved for the last year and a half, almost instantly after they made the marks. We submitted, we got approved. We had to take a line of code. We had to put it in the header of our website. We have been able to advertise, and Chris Starr, some of them get flagged, but not all of them. We've been able to advertise on that platform since. And my business partner, Chris, is the one that handles all that. But it's interesting because even when Facebook said no more crypto advertising, if you did the right thing, if you had a legitimate project, if you were able to answer their questions when they asked you, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? Then they go, okay, here you go. Take this line of code, put it in your header. Once you do that, come back to our platform, hit a button. If that can ping back and forth and it's legitimate, you get the green light, and then you can advertise again on their platform.
Yeah, we're still waiting for our approvals for our conference from Facebook. We never got it.
That's interesting. So a conference, even though,
because it's partially crypto, they wouldn't let us advertise the conference on Facebook. And yeah, so it's goofy. You know how it is. It's just plain goofy out there.
Well, yeah, I got booted. We got booted off MailChimp for that exact reason. We had like an 800-person mailing list. We had sent out a Happy Thanksgiving. That was it. We started to do a collection form, and all of a sudden, it's like, you are dealing in content that's not allowed. And then I looked at their TOS, and their TOS had like 9 things that they didn't allow. But then at the bottom, there was an asterisk that said any crypto-related product. Like, it wasn't even part of the list of things like that you can't promote. It was just an add-on to their TOS. It's, it is what it is.
I have my own issues with the politics out of Silicon Valley and the tech industry.
Well, you said that, actually, hold on. You said that a second ago, and I want to kind of touch on this really quick. I just want to make a point. As liberal and anti-gun and socialist as California is, just remember Silicon Valley, those guys are capitalists. Those guys are for capitalism. Those guys want money. And so if it makes money, it makes sense in Silicon Valley. And so it's an anomaly out there because, yes, you've got snowflakedom all up and down the coast. And I've been, in the California lifestyle since 2003, on and off and living out there and then traveling back and forth. But then when you start to talk to some of these fund managers, these guys got guns. These guys have ranches. These guys have, Jackson Hole retreats. And if you think about that, that's another one that's right near you, and that's right up there in gun country. So just, Silicon Valley is part of the bigger part of California, but the people that are investing in these projects, Peter Thiel, big time Trump supporter, so you've got these guys that are out there that are labeled one way, but realistically, when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, they're the complete opposite. And they've got
hypocrites?
Well, no, think about, I know somebody that runs an accelerator in Santa Clara, and you would think, again, liberal, socialist, nope. Got a pot farm with guns just on the other side of the valley in Santa Cruz.
Nice. I want a pot farm. Not really.
That's venture capitalism right there.
Well, people like to make money, and money definitely makes the people change their politics and their values probably faster than anything else next to alcohol. So, Darryll, this has been really quick. It seems like you and I can jabber on for hours and hours and hours. And I can't wait to talk with you more about wonton soup next time we get together. Where can people find out more?
Yeah, so right now, you could go on to Twitter. I'm at Darryll D. We're really helping out Float. So if you want to go to Float/Darryll D, what we did, if you have a project or you're a VC and you want to get deal flow, join our paid channel. It's $5 a month. We've already got 3 or 4 projects that have launched on there. We're doing a fun thing where, being so into the VC world, I'm giving you the Twitter channels to follow. I'm giving you the people that you want to follow. I'm bringing in the right VCs for deal flow. We've got, sports analytics companies, and we've got fake news aggregator companies, and we've got stuff that's important that needs to be spotlit in there. And so we're really focusing on that. Also, Coincierge.Club on YouTube. For any of our up-to-date pitches, you can see us on This Week in Startups with Jason Calacanis on there. We've done there's probably about 40 videos on there. Not a single one got flagged. But yeah, that's, at Darryll D on Twitter, at Float at Darryll D, or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Darryll.Las Vegas, Coincierge.Club website, all that stuff, all that fun stuff. I'm sure you'll drop a bunch of links in the bottom on post.
Yeah, all those links will be up at robmcnealy.com when we post this. And Darryll, thank you so much for coming out today. I do appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.